Good evening and welcome back, beloveds of the internet, ladies, gents and Pikachus. We're going to look at some flat earth science in commemoration of the brilliant and fantastic final experiment being concluded that showed the 24-hour sun over Antarctica at the end of last week. So, does this prove science to be real and flat earth to be wrong? Let's have a look at the gory down and dirty details. I'm your host, Eddie Corvid. Let's get started. I want to talk to you about science and why science, even as a Christian, science is one of the most important things and the most loved things in my life. I love science. I've always loved it. I'm going to make you love it. I'll make you love me, bitch. No, I won't. I'm going to make you love science, bitch, is what I'm going to do. So the reason I'm going through this, one of my good friends, we've recently lost him to the satanic flat earth nonsense. He's completely deluding himself that flat earth is real, and therefore he has to throw all this away. He has to throw science away. And the problem is, he has been taught poorly. That's obvious to me. He's been guided and taught poorly since a young age, and he thinks science is one thing, when in fact it is another thing. So let's first talk about what is science and why is science. How is science? Many people when they're young are in the mind frame that science is like a geeky, nerdy thing, like you can't do science unless you are a skinny ginger child with orthopedic shoes and big thick lens glasses who doesn't like to go outside the house and only has one friend who is fat. That's the meme of the nerdy science kid. It's completely wrong. I was a science kid, but I was expelled from 7 different schools. I was extremely violent. I ran a gang at the age of 7, like not a proper gang, but a gang of 7-year-olds who used to beat up and bully all the other kids. And I was badly guided. But secretly, at my lunchtime, I used to bugger off to the science lab or to the computer room or to the library, and I used to follow my scientific mind. And I think now looking back, the reason why I was so poorly behaved is because science was limited from me. The age group I was in, we were doing like kiddie science, you know, really boring stuff, and I wanted to do more, and it was frustrating. So I got angry and I took it out on the other kids, which I shouldn't have done. I was poorly led, and that's what I see with these flat earthers. So anyway, back to the question, what is science? Why is science and how is science? Science is discovery. Science is like seeing something amazing and thinking, wow, that's just blown my mind to pieces. Then saying, how does that work? I need to know how that works, and I need to reproduce it. That's science. Science is not an endeavour of reading lots of books in a quiet study. No. Science is burning things. Science is blowing things up. Science is drowning things. Science is drowning yourself but not drowning. You know, breathing underwater with equipment. Science is silicon technology, lasers, satellites. It's fireworks. It's pistols at dawn. It's fighting. It's punching someone and managing to knock them out in one hit. It's catching them before they hit the floor so that their brain stem is conserved. It's understanding why when you knock someone out, they go, ooh, when they're knocked out. Like, why do they do this? Why do their hands go like this? That is all science. So once you've discovered all this, once you've understood all this, once you've done the experiments and you've tested this out for yourself and you've learnt, you will be off writing books because you'll want to share these amazing discoveries with as many people as you can, as quickly as you can, so that you can get back to your lab and do more. You'll be in love with it. So science is not for geeky kids and nerdy pursuits. It's not for only the super intelligent people. Science is life. It is the explanation of physical life given as a gift of knowledge to a stranger. That is science. It's nothing to do with flat earth, round earth, books or nerdiness. It's about observational power and giving the gift of understanding, wisdom and truth to another human being. So it should be fun, and it should be simple to understand. Unfortunately, the flat earthers, they don't like this very much, so they take all of what I've just said, all of this stuff here, everything that we know to be true, the understanding and the wisdom and the truth of science, and they throw it in the bin. So that they can say, I am cleverer, I am the smart. Gravity is not real, science is not real, physics, Newtonian properties of matter, it's not real. What's real is flat earth, no gravity, and the reason is Bible. Which is nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Now, I'm not saying the Bible is nonsense. I'm a Christian. I like the Bible. I read it every day. I believe it. But what I'm saying is nonsense is that the Bible says throw away science. The Bible says flat earth, no gravity. It does not. It says exactly what we see in science is true. So we get to task B, task number 2. What is science in practice? How do we make people love it the way that I love it, the way that you will love it by the end of this video? Let's have a look at some of the stuff I get here in this National Geographic Science Kit. Now, I bought it as a Christmas present for someone, but I thought, let's just go through some of it, and then I'm going to keep this, and we'll do the experiments next year in January, and we will prove for ourselves that Earth is definitely round, spinning, there is gravity, that flat Earth is nonsense, and we will demonstrate that in science for ourselves next year. So, let's go through some of the experimentational kit we get in this National Geographic and Science Kit. And be aware, it says on the box, for 8-year-olds plus. Even an 8-year-old, a relatively average, not too clever 8-year-old, disinterested, badly guided 8-year-old will be able to do these. So flat earthers, you have the literary standard, the intellectual standard that needs to catch up to 8-year-olds. Okay, that's why we're going through this. So, first thing we get to, this is one of my favourite things I've ever seen. This thing here. Now, if I deconstruct this, this is, there you go. This is a plastic fake volcano. Made of 3 plastic elements that you stick together to make like a cone shape. And this you put on the top and it caps it. So it makes it a mountain. And what you do is you pour plaster, fake lava plaster, into it to build up a magma chamber. Then you add eruption powder A and B underneath it and it builds up the gas, melts the lava powder, pops off the top and explodes. And you get a fake volcano. All the melted plaster will come out the top. That's amazing to me. That is absolutely amazing to me that a kid's toy that an 8-year-old can build and use simulates a real volcano and demonstrates its effects and then explains out with Newtonian physics how that works. I mean, check this out. See that? Eruption powder A. Just think about that. This is an 8-year-old's toy. Eruption powder A. This is the first explosive gas-making element inside of a volcano in a powder sachet. So you add that to your water first. Then you put your goggles on. Your little specs, because you don't want to blind yourself with flying magma rocks. Then you add eruption powder B. And what happens when you put eruption powder A together with eruption powder B, you mix them together in water, your volcano explodes and your magma comes flying out the top and then it sets. Once it's cooled down after it's exploded, it sets. Then after it has set, why is my TV saying it's going to turn off in 5 minutes? Don't do that. So anyway, after it's set, you can catch some of the stuff in here, a little plastic tester cup, and then you can compare it to some GeoNode samples, which we have here. This is included with the kit. So what you will be left with, depending on the severity and the pressure that you create with your explosion, you'll be left with some sedimentary and some igneous rocks. Now, you're not going to have any of these ones. These take thousands of years to form. And, millions of pounds of pressure, and they need to be sat in the ground for a long time. But you will get tiger quartz. The New Agers will love that. They think it brings wealth, luck, and prosperity. It doesn't, it's just a rock. What you will also find is quartz. Now, this is extremely useful stuff. Quartz is not just a rock. Why is quartz such a cool thing? Quartz, when you put a certain frequency of sound through it, spins naturally. And it spins at a consistent rate. So what that means is, if we electrify a piece of quartz with a battery or electric current of some type and we spin it, The sound waves that come off each revolution are consistent. Ding, 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 but really fast. We can make a clock that it will consistently tick, 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 each time it spins. And we can have accurate digital clocks. Or an accurate analog watch, that you move it and it adds power to it. And we can tell the time through this. Think about how cool that is. We can physically make a machine that tells the time. We can make a robot that can count accurate time with science. It blows my mind. The other thing that Quartz is very good at is being part of a generated integrated circuit inside a computer. So you're going to find bits of Quartz all over the place. Phones, computers, TVs, watches, graphics cards, microwaves have got one, ovens got one, cars have got many pieces of Quartz in them. That's just a piece of semi-precious rock. That's just a rock that does that. How did we figure out that this happens? Experimentation of science. And it wasn't like nerdy ginger kids with the orthopedic shoes and the big frame glasses that were doing it. It was real everyday guys, real everyday people, men and women of the world like yourself and I, from a young age who were interested. They were thrilled by the prospect of discovery. And they went out and did the science, came back and wrote books. And that is what people see when they think science. They just see the book. It's almost the same with the Bible. When people read the Bible, they don't see 2,000 years of creative history, man in unison with God and everything in between. They just see a book and they think, boring. No, your mind is boring if you can't see beyond that. And it's the same with science. We need to drum this into our kids' heads. And unfortunately, even though they're way past the age of 8 years old, we need to drum it into these flat earthers, these morons, that what they are doing is wrong. Complete delusion. Otherwise, none of this would be a thing. So we've got some other rock samples in here I won't go through, but one of the ones I thought was cool that I'll just show you. Calcified bone matter. Can you see that? This is physically a piece of calcified bone matter from a dead fossilized creature. This is even useful in science. But I'm not going to go into why, because it's gory. Google it for yourself. So that ends the little demonstration on rocks. Curiously enough, this came with it, like a fake gold bar. I thought, I don't know what that's in there for. Oh my good God. Don't buy a new TV from LG because they just are crap. TV, you will not be turning off in 5 minutes or there will be trouble. Scientifically, I will pound your face in TV. I won't really, but it's annoying. So anyway, that's that. Then you've got your volcano plaster. It's a nice big sack, so you can do one after the other. You can do two with the same plastic. That's how generous these guys are. You have an excavation kit and another cup, which is useful for filling with mud. So you go outside, dig out some mud, fill the cup with it. Then you can use these tools to pull out different worms and different insects, different microbes. And then you can mark them down on a chart and you can study them before releasing them back into the wild. That's a cool thing too. I'm not really into creepy crawlies. I just, I like bugs and animals and stuff, but I don't want to get that close to them. So that won't be something I will be interested in, but kids will love that. Now, the bit that we wanted to get to about the flat earthers. This is the manual that comes with it. Earth Science Kit Learning Guide. This gives you some details on what to expect when you are putting these things into motion. Flat earthers, take note. And remember, 8-year-olds can easily understand this. 8-year-olds, even a smart 6-year-old, a smart 6 to 7-year-old will easily be able to understand this better than a 52-year-old flat earther seemingly can. Crystal Learning Guide. What is a crystal? Well, that is a crystal there. By definition, a crystal is a solid structure formed when atoms or molecules line up in regular three-dimensional patterns. The salt on your dinner table, the snow on the ground, and the diamond in the wedding ring are all crystals. Now, why do crystals demonstrate that there is gravity and that the world must therefore be round? Well, if you take your crystal growing powder, which you get as part of this kit, you're supposed to use a glass. You don't use this, but you know, you use an actual see-through glass, you'll be able to see it better. What you do, you fill this up with distilled water. You know, you boil some water in your kettle, wait for it to cool down, half fill the cup, cut the packet, put the salt crystals in there, and they're going to dissolve in your liquid, and that's going to give you your formation for crystal base. Then you suspend a paper clip or a weight on a piece of string into the water, and then you hold it there and you leave it overnight. And what happens, as the temperature heats up and cools down and heats up and cools down in the room, your water will start to evaporate. Evaporation is what happens when water turns into gas and then flows out of the cup. Because it's gas now, it can just freely move. And the water level drops down. Now, as the water level is dropping down, this disturbs the dissolved crystals, the salt we added to our water earlier. And what tends to happen is as they are moving around, they're disturbed by this, so it makes them move. It adds force, it adds energy for them to move. You know, we know you can't move unless force or energy is present. And that's what happens when evaporation moves the water, it disturbs the water because of the weight of the water and the dissolved particles. They still have weight even though they're dissolved down. Reacting to gravity, that's what causes that whole thing to happen, that the water staying in the glass is there because of gravity. The pressure on the crystals to dissolve them is because of gravity. The movement that is caused by the disturbance of them evaporating is all caused by gravity and weight. When that all happens, the dissolved solids start to draw towards the paperclip. And eventually they will stick together as a lump. A solid rock will form on the end of your paperclip, and as the water level goes down, the rock will start to grow. And at some stage you will be able to eyeball it. You'll be able to see that rock grow, and you will have made your crystal. Now you can leave it overnight until the water completely evaporates and the crystal will grow to its full size, and what you will be left with is that. See it? Sodium chloride crystal, copper sulfate crystal. Different colours of crystals, different names of crystals correspond to different dissolved solids. Now, flat earthers, riddle me this. How would that work if objects didn't have weight or gravity wasn't affecting the water and the dissolved solids? Because think about it. How can you fill a cup with water and then stir it without it all coming out if you've got no gravity to push it back into the cup? If it has no weight, there is no downward pressure on the dissolved solids, so as they're evaporating, there will be no movement. And because there is no movement, no pressure, there will be no heat, which means you will not be able to form your crystal. 8-year-olds understand this better than you do, 52-year-old flat earth maniacs, so why don't you listen and learn? And then you will be amazed and you will get the fun part of science that we get, and you won't have to do these ridiculous 4-hour flannel streams where you are just making it up as you go along, befuddling people with big long words, making out like you need to be some nerdy genius to understand the basic things an 8-year-old can understand. It's a lie. Science is easy, you don't have to be a genius, it's fun, and the reason it's fun is because when you discover the truth you can easily share it out. You don't need to find geniuses to share it with. You can share it with 8-year-old children, which is what these guys are doing. So, that's that out of the way. Next thing we have is Gemstone Learning Guide. Let's look at the specimens in your kit. So, the crystal you make is a sodium chloride crystal. It's not the most attractive crystal, but it's okay. You can do one with sugar. I think it's called a glyceum crystal, or something like that, but that's a more pretty see-through crystal. But these ones take thousands of years and heat and pressure to make, and the reason is why we say precious and semi-precious stones. For instance, a precious stone is like a diamond. Now the reason a diamond is precious is because you don't find them in the top layers of the earth. You have to dig down very, very far in order to find them. And as you are digging down, the rocks you are going to have to dig through become harder and harder and harder. And soon enough, you hit a bedrock, an igneous solid rock, which is not porous whatsoever. It is like wood made out of rock. It's completely solid. And for you to drill through that takes a massive amount of time and energy. It's very dangerous. There's absolutely zero light, very, very thin air down there, so you can't breathe or see. And because of the pressure of all the layers on top of it pushing down, the rock is hot to the touch. It's extremely hazardous to go down there. So that means it's dangerous, expensive, and time-consuming to pull diamonds out the ground. That's why they're precious. Because they're very rare compared to all the other rocks. They cannot be made overnight. It takes thousands of years to press down a true natural diamond. Even better if it's flawless. If it had perfect conditions to be made with no flaws, that is a very expensive diamond. And if you manage to get down there and pull it out without destroying it or killing yourself, then cutting it up into little small diamonds and selling them, you're going to make a lot of money from those crystals. But there are other crystals at the top, near to the surface. We can find those every day. Like this kit has an excavation kit. You can go out there and you can find snowflake obsidian, tiger's eye, you can find geodes, calcite, all these simple ones. Easy, and they are semi-precious because we can actually make those in a lab like that overnight. So let's have a look at some of the specimens we have. This little beauty, see it there? Sorry about the plasters, I managed to burn myself earlier. This little beauty here is snowflake obsidian. Now, interesting how it's called snowflake obsidian when we are speaking about flat earthers, who I would say are the biggest snowflakes going, because you cannot show them any truth, or they go, oh, it's a CGI, it's a fucking conspiracy, it's the government, it's NASA, you're an evil liar. They will come out with every excuse under the sun in order to say flat earth exists despite the evidence. So let's have a look at that evidence. We shall be reading through this. Snowflake obsidian. The regular type of obsidian is a volcanic glass formed when certain types of lava cool rapidly so that crystals cannot form. The lava cools more slowly and the crystals can form and give the rock a textured appearance. Crystals that speckle on the surface, like snowflake obsidian, are called spherulites, and they are formed from mineral cristobalite, a type of quartz. So we know snowflake obsidian, even though you have to dig quite far down to get it, is a surface rock. That's one of the least special, precious ones. Then we go down and down the list and we get tiger's eye, a lustrous gemstone that occurs mainly in South Africa and East Asia. So, we'll stop there. This demonstrates the fact that those crystals are found in those places and that we have them here. We know this is true. They're not CGI. They're physically here, flat earthers. 8-year-olds can understand that. It demonstrates A, the world is made of compressed, pressure-centric, sedimentary layers. Okay. And the ones at the bottom are under huge pressure and have been there a lot longer. So what that means is when the world was young, that underneath layer was the surface layer. Then over time another layer fell on top of it and built up on it. Then another layer, then another layer, then another layer, then another layer, all the way up thousands of years later to the surface we have today. And the surface we have today and all the other layers are constantly pushing down with the huge pressure of their weight generated by gravity, squashing down the ones at the bottom, and the heat and the pressure and the low light conditions down there, or sometimes zero light, results in crystals being formed when their water is evaporated and what's left clumps together under that extreme pressure. So flat earthers, riddle me this. Why are diamonds found at the very bottom and are precious, and quartz found at the very top, semi-precious, if there was no gravity? Because if there was no gravity, there wouldn't be sedimentary layers, and the one at the bottom wouldn't be the oldest one, would it? Answers on a postcard. All you snowflakes can apply, and you can win that £1,000 from the £1,000 challenge. All you got to do is demonstrate why any of this stuff is inaccurate. Please, I beg of you, if you can, enlighten me with your scientific genius and your intellectual prowess. Oh, flat earthers. I nearly called you snowflakes there, but I didn't. So we carry on. Now, they've got a few more pages on crystals, but we're going to go past those. The next thing, Tornado Learning Guide. This is what we're going to be going through now. Tornado Learning Guide. See that? Now, let's read. What is a tornado? Naturally occurring tornadoes form in a similar way as your experiment you just did. A tornado is a vortex of air that forms inside thunderstorms when a stream of cold, dry air collides with a stream of warm, moist air. A rotating column of air that reaches down to the ground is then formed, called a tornado. Now, think about that, flat earthers, before you answer. If there is no gravity, i.e. there will be no weight, therefore there will be no pressure, therefore there will be no atmosphere, how is there tornadoes? Or are you going to deny tornadoes? Are all tornadoes CGI as well? Think about it. Cold, dry air meeting warm, moist air makes them want to rush past each other. But because they have particles of dust in there, and the dust wants to attract itself, not to itself, but the matter wants to attract itself together, it causes a spinning motion. And because gravity is pulling it down, it goes down towards the ground, creating a vortex called a tornado. How does a tornado form in no gravity, with no weight, with no atmosphere? It can't. So it's further proof that the Earth has gravity and that objects are affected by it. And then it even goes further. What is a vortex? A vortex of water that spins and drains downward as the result of two different pockets of pressure colliding. So it's the same. It's saying the reason we have vortexes in water, whirlpool, is the same as a tornado. It's because two sets of pressures meet, spin round, and are pulled down. Now, you can't say that tornadoes, vortexes, igneous rock, sedimentary rock patterns, tectonic plates, and the atmosphere and volcanoes. You cannot say all of these things are CGI. Can you, flat earthers? You can't say all this stuff's false. Wouldn't it make more sense that your thing is wrong? Of course your thing is wrong, but surely you need 8-year-olds to teach you this. So we'll carry on looking through the 8-year-old science kit. Incidentally, if you're looking for a late Christmas present for a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, you could do a lot worse than this. This thing's amazing. Here we go. Volcano Learning Guide. What is a volcano? Volcano is a type of mountain formed by the opening in the Earth's surface that allows material from deep inside the Earth to move to the surface very quickly. To understand how and why this happens, you need to understand the physical structure of the Earth. Then it shows you a picture of it. Now, why would you need the Earth to be spherical and have a gravitative core in order to have a volcano? Well, let's find out. Our planet is made up of layers, which you need gravity in order to have. We live on the thin, brittle outer layer called the crust. But beneath the crust is the mantle, a semi-solid layer of rock, and beneath that is the liquid outer core. How would that happen with no gravity? It wouldn't. There would not be a molten liquid core because there would be no pressure and there would be no heat from pressure and there would be nothing there. It would just be space. It goes on to crush the flat earthers and make them cry. Plate tectonics. Now, look at that diagram. Look at that diagram there. Imagine this on a flat earth. So you have a continent here, and you have a continent here, and they are slowly moving away from each other, and at the point where one frees from the other, so there's now a gap in the middle, they bob. And that causes an earthquake. Or on the other side of the world, because we're pushing away here, these ones are pushing towards each other, and at the point when they meet, they go and that causes an earthquake. So we know from looking on a globe, if there's an earthquake here and there's a fault line here, if we can go round and find the other fault line here, when this one's affected, this one will also be affected. One side of a tectonic plate will affect the other side. We know this to be a case. We know this to be true. How, flat earthers, would that work if the world was flat and these ones moving away didn't meet at the other end? Then they wouldn't do that, would they? But they do that. How do we know they do that? Well, because we have what's called a Richter scale. A Richter scale counts the vibrations coming off those tectonic plates as they move and rates them on a scale of 1 to, I think it's 8. 8 being the highest. So when plates are moving together and they start creating those vibrations from slipping over each other or slipping out from each other, that's how they know there's going to be an earthquake over there, guys, because we're over here and we can see the vibrations coming out here and the other end of the plate's here and it's going to hit into there and you've got 7 hours to get out. That's called an earthquake early warning system. How would that work, flat earthers, if there was no globe? It wouldn't. So that's that. I think we have done exhaustive studying now on the basics of 8-year-old intellectual science that 52-year-old flat earthers don't seem to understand in their dumb heads, that actually explains everything that we see and know on the earth. So, in conclusion, if you have a friend who is a flat earther, and they try and tell you that they know about maths or science or truth, or they try and present themselves as a gospel speaker so that they can say, of course I'm honest, I'm a gospel speaker, of course I'm telling the truth about the flat earth. Put 2 and 2 together and realise the only reason they're using the gospel and speaking the name of our Lord is so that they can claim honesty while they lie to you about the contents of an 8-year-old science kit, so that they can throw away the wonder of science and the truth and wisdom that is generated, so they can be holier than thou, smarter than thou, and they can be powerful based on a lie. Flat earthers are liars, hypocrites, and snakes, not good Christians, not good honest people, and certainly not good teachers of maths, metaphysics, or science. And we should absolutely come down as hard as we can on these people until they understand truth is not subjective, Adam. Probably why you called your channel that. Truth is objective. And if you have an objective truth, you will not run away from a challenge to present it. Like you and Flatzoid and PJ and Michael Kahn and Eric Dubois, all these fraudsters and yourself have been doing since the start of this year, and that has caused many arguments within our group, and now you have successfully chased everyone out of the group, which is what you were warned would happen in July. So, in conclusion, flat earth science is delusionary, fake pseudoscience, led by a dishonest soul, not by the truth of the gospel. It is not demonstratable in factual science at all. There is no evidence for it because it is wrong. And we know this from the final experiment, doing the 24-hour sun thing, and everything I have presented to you today. And we know even 8-year-olds can understand this, flat earthers. So this is a psychological delusion only affecting you. As soon as you want to come back to the truth, come and find me. So, I think my work here is done. That's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed that and you learned something. God bless you all. And I'll see you lovely people in the next one. Bye now. And I can already hear the tectonic rumblings of the volcanic anger of the flat earthers as they cry and cope into their wet hands. No matter, the truth is conserved and the gospel shall be heard. So that's all for now. God bless you all. Have a lovely day and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.